And we're in. Perfect. Brilliant. We're talking about wrenches.
We were, yeah.
A little bit late. Yeah, I think I'm definitely a wrench for Neil. I mean, most people are wrenches for Neil. You go through his chat and it's just everyone is a wrench.
Yeah, some people are like that. Same with Strike. If you've ever been to one of his shows, especially the movie night on the weekend, he has a thing that basically if you can make him laugh, you get a wrench. And so pretty much everyone manages to make him laugh. So you ever watch his chat, everyone has a wrench. And then it's got to the point where if you see somebody that doesn't, they're like, oh my God, stop the show. They need a wrench.
Brilliant. How is Australia this time
Hold
of year?
up. I will answer that in a sec. Russ, do I masturbate to my own voice recordings? No, I can't stand to hear them, to be honest. But thank you very much. It's nice to know what you do to my voice recordings. Sorry, what was the question?
Australia. The land down under.
Down under.
Mate, you can never hear your own voice. I don't know whether my voice is actually any good, but I try. Me and my mate always do Australian accents. I think we think.
Fair enough. I've got to admit, the Brits can do a much better Australian accent than any Yank. American, I mean. It's not like, I think it's just because it's a more similar, like there are more similarities. It's easier to drop into each other's accent than the American, or not all Americans, but you know, the stereotype American accents, especially the South. Sorry, Russ.
Never apologize. We didn't.
No, well, I like Russ. He's a cute little gentle pig, and he's a Southerner, so yeah.
I think I'd agree. I normally I sometimes joke that when Americans have a go at Mexicans for speaking in broken English, Americans are effectively doing the same for us.
Well, technically you're doing broken English worse than some Americans. And I can actually find the source to show you this. Because when the accents, yeah, no, I'll try to. I mean, I probably won't be able to do it straight away or anything. It'll take a while to go back through my YouTube history and stuff. But with accents, especially between the British and the American, I remember seeing, it might have actually been a Vsauce video, so it might be easier to find than I think. But anyway, it was about how the English accent had changed since the Americans had, you know, the Western society moved to Americas, took over American lands, and their accents had started. The diversities have changed so much that there is actually more individual cultures within United States that speak the original English accent, or closest to, than any other accent in any of the English mainlands, I should say, or the UK mainland. I don't know. It's all confusing to me still.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
British mainlands.
You're probably right.
Yeah, I can't wait to show you. It's fascinating because I was blown away when I was like, bullshit, you know, like. But yeah.
Yeah, I'll accept what you say. I haven't checked myself. The only counter argument to that would be that I speak of the aristocracy. Is that right? Not bureaucracy, politics, isn't it? Aristocracy.
Yeah, no, yes, aristocracy, or yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and then that was, of course, that was a very specific, and this is the beauty of accents. I mean, even here in Australia, like people outside of Australia don't really realize how many different accents there are of Australian accents, and it's just possibly more distinct with other cultures. You know, Britain, you've got so many different varying peoples with very different accents, you know. America, you could say the same thing. You go from the East Coast to the West Coast, you're going to run into or even North to South, so many different accents. It's kind of the same here, but it's just not quite as extreme, I suppose.
I would love to go to Australia at some point. You're just too far away on the
come
underside
in the winter. Yeah, I know. They're black. What are they called? The special ops helicopters that they're specially designed so they can flip around the disk of the Earth. It's really cool. And you get a great view of the ice wall as well.
I'm certain we're going to end up getting into the flat Earth. That's right. So anyone who's in the chat, hello, and has not been on my channel before, I basically talk to various different people, typically atheists, not necessarily about religion so much. We go into how religion is linked to that person, but we then start to talk about other subjects, more contemporary dilemmas, things like AI, Trump, Brexit, climate change, cryptocurrency, all these different other things, because they're far more interesting than going over the treaded path, as it were, because we could bitch about religion until we're blue in the face. So I was going to start, just to clarify.
That's a good way to begin.
Yeah, so for the those that are on my channel but haven't seen NotJah's, could you just elaborate on what your channel is? And it's about a year old now, isn't it?
It is actually coming up pretty close to my first birthday, yes. I can't remember if it's the start of February or the start of March, but either one, I'll go with it. Well, I'm obviously NotJah Witness, or I do NotJah Witnessy things, which to those who aren't actually familiar with me is I basically grew up in a cult of the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I have a very, I wouldn't say unique, we all kind of have a very unique experience in our own paths, but it's just a very learned experience that I've grown up with through religions. And so now it took me a long time to break free from the God idea. It didn't take me long to get rid of religion, but God took me a while. Once I did that, I've realized that it was almost something that I was made to do because of how skeptical I sort of always grew up, to go out and expose and refute the bullshit of religions and conspiracies and just about any other stupid, unscientific idea that people have. So that's kind of what I do in a nutshell. Obviously, I'll hit up against the Jehovah's Witnesses and the Watchtower quite frequently, but at the moment I'm also doing a thing against Kenneth Ham, the old hammy boy himself, because he's Australian and I'm Australian, and if he's a bigger idiot than I am, that's just embarrassing. So I'm gonna chew his ass for it. But shit, I think that's about all I pretty much do. That's a good summary.
That's fine. I need to avoid some of these comments like the plague. Frustrated Atheist has already started with his his comments.
Oh yeah, they're all good chaps. They all love me. So
I don't have to create quick capacity to do it that quickly.
Yeah, no. Well, I know they're pretty good. It's hard to do it back in typing too. I've got to run away real quick, like 2 seconds. Just gonna grab myself a drink. That's all.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, we love you, Frustrated. Oh, man. For those who aren't in the comments, Land Down Under has NotJah in it. He's the one who gave the lead singer a Vegemite sandwich. Some say, a bit like the intro to the Stig on the old Top Gear. Some say.
Oh, and you know, mad timing for that. You would not believe I actually have it paused and minimized on my screen, Top Gear, because I was just watching it. And then before that I was watching the Grand Tour and I realized, oh my God, I've only got the first season. This is unacceptable.
Yeah, I'm typically not signed up to anything sort of Amazon Prime, Netflix-y.
Neither.
I really want to.
Yeah, that's. And for a good long time, like I'm talking decades, I could get whatever I wanted, my own way. It was all good, you know. There were means and ways, but for these sort of things nowadays, it's getting a lot harder here in Australia. Because every time a new website pops up, they're like, "Yep, no, we found it. Fuck off. We just completely destroy it on our servers and stuff in Australia. You just can't access these things the way I would." If any of that makes sense.
Yeah, it's amazing what they can do. I mean, I guess that would lead me into the idea of not just cryptocurrency, but blockchain as a whole, and how that seems to try and decentralize away from, what would be the word? Moderation.
Cool.
Regulation, which is, you know, system trying to fight back.
Especially on internets, because that's one of those places where I feel like there's a bit of room for everybody. There are other agencies which can control what you find on the internet and what's easily accessible on the internet. That's already in place. They work. If you know, this is why there's the whole thing of the dark web. You can access all that if you know how to access all that. But otherwise, if you try and Google something, you know what I mean? There are these ways of doing it. They're just trying to further control and sort of siphon what you see into a more mainstream thing where the big bucks are buying it.
It is a shame. I was watching, I think it was a TED talk at one point, and the argument that was being made was that we are all going to end up on the dark web eventually, or at least the dark web will become the internet because of the culture of the dark web, not just for, you know, crime and horrible pedophilia stuff, but because of the way in which, you know, people were illegally selling weed, or, you know, you call it weed in Australia? Cannabis. Not
yeah, man.
Marijuana. You know what I mean?
Again, good timing. I was just muted for a second just to have a smoke.
Is it legal?
I mean, a cigarette.
Like
cigarette smoke. Cigarette. That's what I was talking about.
Nobody knows where you are or what your face is, so you know.
Yeah, I know. I've said it in enough other things. I suppose people know.
So for those who are new, we get distracted like this all the time. I'll eventually finish my point. Basically, yeah, I was on watching that TED talk, and the argument was the way they sell things on the dark web, like illegal drugs. It's all to do with customer satisfaction, because when you're anonymous on the internet, you have to have some way of trusting somebody, and so you have to look at the reviews and the feedback you get for, you know, whatever it may be. And actually, that service is better than the service we currently get under regulated, you know, Amazon or whatever. Well, it's just a really interesting argument.
It is a good argument. However, it could also be argued that it's not the abilities of the more mainstream ways to do these things, but the willingness of them to sell themselves out to things that we're not, like we're less willing to go through than to otherwise. Whether this be advertisements on the internet or this be laws in our countries that, you know, these social requirements that can actually push otherwise people that would not even know what they're doing to go in these directions. So there are different avenues, I suppose, to looking at it. And they're all right. They're not to say one negates the other. You know, this is the beauty of this thing.
I got a really nice shirt that eventually arrived a bit late, but it came from one of those Instagram adverts. I think specifically Instagram seems to be selling me some very good merchandise at the minute. Just the past year or two, it's come up with some adverts for some stuff I am really interested in. I think last
it does that, eh? Gets to know you.
Yeah, I had some, like, not It was more like paint by numbers. I've got some here actually, under there. I've got about 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, they're just like paint by numbers, but more complicated paintings. You know, like you need a magnifying glass to actually apply it. You know, it takes 10 days to do. If you were just doing that,
that's pretty cool.
You know.
Yeah. A bit more work into it. And I mean, I suppose that it slowly teach you different techniques as well. You know, get better at applying them.
Yeah, it's not quite. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's just a adult version of paint by numbers. But no, I got one from a family actually. Got some horses for Dad. There's like these horses that are going across the wherever it is, and then horses by a stream for my sister. They're all into their horses. My dad owns horses, and my sister looks after them.
Fair enough. Yeah, I'm from the country, so
I think it was lions for my mum. Big orange kind of.
All right, and you froze for a second there.
I did.
You were just
Fun. No, what I was going to say, I knew we'd.
And again.
Australian one.
Unlucky. I missed that. What did you just say?
You missed the sound as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh dear.
It just cuts to a stop.
I'm not entirely sure.
It happens.
Yeah.
That's all right.
For the 3rd time, I will get onto Australian wildlife at some point.
Fair enough.
We always get these wonderful nature documentaries about Australia. You never get a nature documentary about some badger from the UK, do you?
Well, it's regional. So we get a lot, like, I mean, at least since Steve died, rest in peace, we don't get so much Australian shit. Steve Irwin, because that was pretty much the only Australian shit that really went national. Otherwise, we don't care about Australian shit. We live in it. So, of course, we get stuff from other places.
Yeah, his son's doing it now, isn't it? He's like, must be.
Of course, but the whole family, it's been a, they've been doing it forever. So it's just only now that they're getting any interest in the American audience, they've sort of branched out a bit again.
I don't think I've been that enthusiastic about anything, let alone, you know, I'm not even that enthusiastic about himself. And he's
I know,
American
right?
chat shows, like.
Oh, they got some spirit. I do envy the life in a way. I just know, you know, for me it'd be, you know, in another life kind of thing. It wouldn't be me in this life. But bloody hell, it just looks like fun. Animals are so cool. And yeah, I reckon I'd probably be about as happy as they are if I was doing that, to be honest.
I'm trying to think how a lot of scientists as a whole get paid. What would be the role?
Studies.
What's the
studies and books?
Name for their job?
Well, you'd be either a writer of a book if it's a book, or if it's a study, you're a publisher, I think, or fudge. I know I absolutely should know this. Like I should, you know. God damn it. I'd have to look it up. I'm too lazy. Somebody in the chat help us out. How about that?
I think frustrated to just say
because I know it's like you publish the study as a, you know, a criminologist, for example. I would publish a study, but or you know, if it's an article, publish an article. But I know what you're getting at, and I don't know exactly if it's got a specific, you know, researcher. Like that's a good get. Like that's because I don't know how, like, because it depends on what what bloody topic, what subject you're in, what field, you know. It'd be like you're a molecular biologist or whatever. That's what you are. You're studying at a certain institute and you're getting funding through either a private or public form of funding, you know what I mean, depending on what the setup is. It of course depend, you know, you could be an archaeologist or something. It'd all work the same kind of way. That's why different places have different levels of how much public funding they put into actual scientific research, and so they don't end up having either a lot, or they do end up having a lot of production coming out of that industry. But other places might have a lot more interest in the private industry, and so they don't have to have as much excuse me, public funding. So for example, if you look at the space race right now, you could argue, I wouldn't necessarily say that I would argue this, but you could argue that NASA doesn't need as much funding as before comparatively, because there is so much more interest in the private sector of the space race, and now they can piggyback off the private sector. Whereas in my own real opinion, I think that NASA still should get more funding, because I am a bit like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I think the more money for them, the better. It's you know, what we need. So yeah, I think that if you think of it like that, it gets, you know, it might clear it up a bit, I suppose, or it'll either that or it'll complicate it more.
I literally just wrote down Neil deGrasse Tyson, then you said it. I just wanted
he's brilliant.
A quick shout out to people in the comments as well. What time is it where you are? 10:30?
Yeah.
Yeah, I realised some of them might end up going to bed if they're Australian. So just before they do, we will eventually start talking about Jehovah's Witness a little bit. I already had Lloyd Evans on the channel, and actually I've had quite a few fairly prominent people, Aaron Ra, Richard Carrier, that sort of.
I know.
Ilk.
I've kind of seen that, and I've been like, you little scumbag. Like even Lloyd was like, oh no, like he's been up for all sorts of things, and it just never worked out. Like I'm like, oh my god, and you had him. Oh.
Yeah, it also helps being in the same time zone.
No,
yeah.
I know. I'm in the worst place for it.
Oh, I was going to say no, because he's not in Australia. He's in Croatia.
No.
So he's he's an hour away.
He's a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say
he's a lot closer to you than me.
Yeah, he's typically 4-5 hour drive away normally.
But then you got
half the country.
Because of where I am, then I've got Europeans. Yeah, you're all a couple of hours apart, but whatever, you know, you're all there. I can sort of work that out with 10 hours apart. You know, you're in the morning, I'm at night. That's reasonably easy to do. Or you just start a bit later, but it's still pretty easy to do. Americans, and that's where the vast majority of probably both of our audiences are or will be. It's so much harder for me to try and get that timeline worked out. You know, it's you have such a small slither of time, and then because USA is so wide, there's such a vast amount of time between the two coasts. Yeah, it is a pain in the ass. I love you Americans, but Jesus, you're too far away, or I'm too far away.
No, the problem for you is that on one side of you is Europe, which is why this can happen, and then on the other side's a big expanse of water. And then America.
Yeah. It's like half a world of water, or a third of the world of water.
As much as we set the time zones, we can't do anything about the water, I'm afraid. If anything, we're encouraging more water to be there, which isn't a good thing.
I'm sure if you gave that proposition to Trump, he would work out a way.
Build that wall in the middle of the ocean, and then it goes down.
He'd manage to drain that. He'd do something. He'd figure it out. It wouldn't be good.
Funding for it.
That's all. No, I mean, but yeah, that'd be the only thing that'd save the fucking ocean.
I mean, we're already onto climate change and Trump. I'm not entirely sure how. The thing I wrote down about Neil deGrasse Tyson was he says NASA should explore. That should be the first frontier. And once it's found information out, then the private company comes in. I think that'd be interesting for space mining. If you actually mapped wherever it was in space with NASA, and then they retreat, and then the private company can come in, and there's some form of regulation, some sort of space rules that we adhere to, which brings us on to the space army or whatever Trump's going to do.
But yeah, I get you. But there is a simpler way to do that, where NASA doesn't have to put their funding in for all the initial, just that whole initial part. That's where all the money goes. NASA has figured it out now that they want to put their money after it's all worked out, because the people privately, whether it be the Amazon guy, Bezos, or it's Elon Musk or whatever, if there's other people out there, they're already jumping ahead of NASA, and NASA can't do anything about it. They're going to go bust if they don't at least try and make the best of this situation, basically. They can't afford, and they'll never be able to afford to do that initial, like the initial exploration when they throw a satellite out, sure, but that's about all they can do. Whereas everyone else is jumping way ahead of them, and they're going to start making money off it. And so NASA's smartly decided to basically sell the ability to get into space, if that makes sense, and do it on a commercial level. And so they can still make a profit, and basically then all they're doing is selling off, buying off little area of this, the rocket, which is ridiculously cheap compared to anything NASA could ever do, just in the way it is funded by a government, by a department that has so many checks on it to make sure everything is funded correctly. It becomes redundant immediately. And this is what they learned with the shuttle launch, or the whole shuttle experiment. And that's why, to be honest, I think it's probably in their best interest that they do continue with what they're just starting to do now, where they're just buying off space. That way they can get their satellites out into space really cheap, instead of doing it themselves, which is expensive. Because, as I said, it's not inherently by their fault. It's just, it's not, their fault because they're bad at what they do or anything, but it's just inherent in the way it's funded through a government and its committees, and everyone has checks to check off. And by the time all that shit is done, SpaceX has 4 more rockets that have far more advanced stuff on them, because they can just improvise and they change every single rocket to be better than the last. NASA just can't do that. They aren't equipped to fund that sort of thing. They need to do a bulk sort of thing, and when they do a bulk thing, everything has to be the same, just because of the standards they work by, because it's under a government-funded thing, whereas a privately owned thing, unfortunately, and I'm not a big good proponent for private business, owning stuff generally, but this is one of those sort of places where the private industry have proven themselves to go, we can do better, and while it can be made profitable, that's way more than NASA could ever do. And so they may as well do it cheaper, go with what's there, at least until they can replicate it. But even then, by then, there'll be something better. Especially if they can actually make it profitable in the way that they want to, even just commercial flights, that would be enough to maintain what's going on. Whereas with NASA at the moment, there's not enough profitability in what they do. All they can really do is send out satellites and make a little bit of money, but SpaceX is doing it cheaper, so they're not making that money anymore. It sucks. I love NASA. I love space. I think it's fascinating, and I bet that I don't know if you know the Lavender Lady, Diana, but if she was here, oh my God, would she be talking a storm?
I get her and Wonder Baby mixed up. Are they the same person?
No, they are not. No, if you have, that's a common thing. That's, but they are different. Both definitely unique and beautiful people. One and I mean, both in the same. You know, both the same. They're awesome.
I should probably explain as well. The last podcast I did, it was probably Tuesday. Yeah, it was because of the Brexit date. Me and Prophet Bizarre broke up. We both crashed out of the chat. We will get him back at some point. He's very busy over the next 2 weeks. I got feedback saying that we weren't, or at least I didn't come across as prepared for the conversation, as if we're prepared for this. Like, how many subjects have we touched upon already? You know, who needs to be prepared? I've got loads of little notes and stuff, but it's like people just talk. You know, people just have a conversation. People have lost the ability to just listen to somebody else and then reply. You know, bizarre.
I get that, and I don't know. I think what's going on is that you're missing that those words are coming from your audience, which not necessarily coming from the person you're talking with. Yes.
Yeah, I can't quite remember, but it's one drop in the ocean.
Yeah, I mean it's not about having a whole preparedness, but I think maybe having some vague topic or overlaying topic, even if it's very vague, you can at least that way, if it goes so far into, you know, left field, you can be like, all right, we'll drag it back, you know. Or even if you do a thing where different types of interviews have different themes. So, you know, you'll have one interview where you'll introduce a person and you'll get to know them for who they are and what they do and, you know, blah, 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 like whatever that may be. And you'll have another particular interview show where it's just a talk show, literally, you know. But even in a talk show, they have a few points, you know, like they've done a little bit of research to go, okay, so they've done these videos with this person, I can ask them a question about that. They've done this with this, I can ask something about that, you know, and it just gives you an idea of what trajectory you want the show to go in. And that can help keep an audience's attention. And I've sort of learned that, and I've not gotten very good at it myself. And that's why I actually don't do as many live streams as I used to. In that respect, because I just know that's not really something I'm good at. Like, I'm better in this respect where you just ask me questions and I talk shit.
Yeah, I much prefer to just chat shit. Like, yeah, I far better enjoyed doing this than like a formal, hello, today, welcome, we've got blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, it's not me.
Okay, you know? Well, you don't have to present it necessarily like that. You can still present it like you're doing. Just have a couple ideas ahead of time, you know, of something about the person you're talking with that shows that you've got a, what is it? Not a storyline, because I'm thinking like a script, but, you know, a direction, you know what I mean? But to be honest, this probably isn't something should be discussed now anyway. And yeah, it's just not really important. I was actually, what did come to mind is you brought up Neil earlier, and I was thinking, like, what do you, if you like what Neil does, maybe think of that sort of thing where you have a topic in a discussion first, and then you do an after show where you just talk shit, you know, because that's actually something that works really well for an audience. If it, yeah, if it works for you, like, of course, because it's, but ultimately, yeah, like. The one thing I've had to concede to is that the audience kind of knows what's good and what's not, and I don't really know what's good and what's not. And when I look back on my old stuff, I realized, you know what, they're kind of right. They know what they're talking about.
I definitely have to think about it. I don't really mind talking about it now, especially when we're actually we have viewers. I mean, feel free to put your thoughts in the comments. Yeah, I where I stand on it is do what you want to on your channel, and people will be drawn to your authenticity. It's not that you have to sacrifice authenticity for the sake of a theme or whatever. I think the overarching theme is religion, or atheism rather, particularly apostasy. I mean, you referenced Neil's after parties, which are great. More people should sub to Neil. It's become my in joke that I always write sub to Neil in the comments. I'll throw some links out there. We will go back to Jehovah though, and then we'll go into various bits that have come up in the comments, like gun control. I was with Lloyd Evans. He was cool. And then I was going to ask you about the Watchtower and the cartoons they send out. You've done various different response videos on propaganda that they pull out. Do you want to elaborate on Watchtower?
So you mean the organization, not the magazine itself? Yeah.
Either. I wasn't sure there was. I had no idea there was a magazine, actually.
That's actually surprising. Well, no, I won't ask that. But it is a bit surprising because the Watchtower and Tract Society of Pennsylvania are a book publication company. They are the ones who run the Jehovah's Witnesses. They had a base very prominent in Brooklyn, just across from the Brooklyn Bridge. It was a mainstay until last year, I think, when they sold it off. And even the Watchtower, big massive sign on top of the building, got torn down. Funnily enough, it wasn't bought by, but the real estate agency that did the property sales that Watchtower organization used was affiliated with the one and only Donald Trump through Kushner, which I just find ridiculously ironic. So yes, that's the actual organization. Then they publish books, literature, tracts, all sorts of shit that you have to read and then you have to hand out to people. It's a pretty big, long story behind it, really. Hey, Christy.
I was going to mention Christy. She was like, "Oh my!"
Yeah. The Watchtower magazine itself is one of the more common propaganda articles that you will walk around with, door knocking and witnessing and giving to people. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Sorry, I'm sort of learning on the go a bit more because I prefer to learn these things from people's own experiences. You can pick up more concerning the tone of their voice when they speak about a particular thing, and that then gives you more information than if you were just reading it.
I understand. Yeah. You probably won't get as much as you should out of my tone because it's filtered, but it'll work still.
Yeah, you could still. Yeah, it's just a difference in going up and down.
No, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
But the question was more regarding you'd asked something specific, and I didn't answer your question.
I
wasn't sure.
What I was going to say.
Yes. So I assume then it must be you were talking about the organization putting out the Caleb and Sophia cartoons, the ones that Telltale does a lot of videos with. Yes. So I think I've only done one or so.
Yeah, I'm trying to get Telltale on the channel too. Haven't quite got.
Yeah. All right. If you get him as well, I'd be like, mother.
As I said, you can also swear. It's fine. Yeah.
I know, I'm being rather conservative, aren't I? It's weird.
Yeah, please don't be.
No, I'll try not to be. I'm sorry. I apologize.
How dare you be so polite?
I know. Fuck me.
Hey, I was going to say, when I was speaking to Lloyd Evans, we went off into various different tangents, but we did have a solid 30-40 minutes on just Jehovah's. And so I'm still roughly the same as you, really. I never came out as atheist or anything. I mean, half the UK's now come out as atheists, so it's not like a coming out thing. It feels like there's certain pieces of information that I don't know about certain religions and cults and organizations, or whatever label we want to give them. And it's rather quite shocking, actually, to think that I've taken for granted quite a lot of views in my life that just aren't normal everywhere else. And you do start to realize you are part of, the top 1% of humans that have ever lived, let alone the ones that are currently on the planet, concerning rights, whether it be consumer rights, labor rights, whatever. And there's propaganda coming out to kids, to children, about, whatever view it may be on LGBT, or, where do you want to go with the actual cartoons? Because some of them can be quite confusing as well.
You kind of threw me where you said that it's kind of confusing. Not threw me in that I didn't understand what you meant, but threw me in that it immediately made me think that, to me, they're not confusing. I understand everything they're saying. I don't agree with it anymore, but I understand it, and I understand the ignorance behind it as well, which is really scary.
To elaborate, sorry, I meant confusing in terms of why they would share that particular doctrine, and what basis, what foundation they have for those views.
Yeah, well, the foundational basis of the views would depend on which views, and it would be scriptural usually. But what they will do is, where there may be one or two very short lines in the Bible, scattered, doesn't matter, they will link them and conflate an argument around it. This is the Watchtower, conflating an argument, or creating and conflating what the words are within those lines, putting them together in whatever way that fits their decision. And usually, like, at least from what I've seen, it seems to be I don't know, like, it's not all the same as other religions, like, but at the same time, a lot of it is. A lot of the arguments still end up being the same arguments. They're just slightly different. So I feel like they're going along with a lot of other things, and they're just making it unique in enough ways that it seems that it's their own. But it's hard to tell. I'm still kind of figuring out which one that is, and I've not really got an answer myself from all of the different people that, online that are bigger and better than me. I'm looking actually to find someone that was in Bethel, specifically in the writing areas of it, to try and help me with this, because a few people I've met that were writers, their stories have been conflicting. So maybe, like, either a lead writer or like a publisher themselves a head editor or something that has left, because that sort of thing is something I really want to know, whether they are taking I mean, to be honest, actually, even a former governing body member, because that's probably one of the best ones. I know one or so, and I probably haven't remembered to ask them at any point. But to know whether they are creating ideas by literally just doing what they say they're doing, reading the Bible, and then, you know, they say it's the heavenly spirit or whatever, and they become enlightened with new light and they figure something out. It's just basically them fucking going, oh, look, this makes sense, with random pieces of the Bible, and then rolling with it. Or if it is them going through online or wherever it is, you know, AIG articles and all the other rest bullshit like that, you know, different sources you can go through, and then going, oh, what sounds good? And then how can we make it ours? You know what I mean? You know how there are those two different ways of doing it, that I'm not sure which they are doing, because there are so many things that are similar to other religions, and other AIG is a big example, that it's like you could be just plagiarizing and then swapping some words enough and swapping some little things enough to make it your own. Or it could be that you're both dumb enough to come up with the same kind of thing, and that they're slightly different because you're both different organizations. You know, you came to slightly different conclusions. It's hard to know.
It did take me a while to work out within these circles that AIG meant Ken Ham.
Yeah, no, same here. No, even I'm the same. I still, and I don't actually know much. Like Ken Ham, I know a little bit about. He's Aussie, but and I've started doing the things against him. But the other guys, like Kent Hovind, and then there's a New Zealander I can't remember the name of, and there's someone Peterson, and like Jordan. All these names, Jordan Peterson. So there's somebody that's like a booger cake. All I remember about him is a booger
cake. Yes.
Yes, that's right. Science booger cake.
I can remember their name. I haven't done any research into them. So
no idea. Exactly. I'm the same boat. And there's all these people that talk about it like, oh yeah, okay. It's ridiculous. Ray Comfort, that's the Kiwi. Thanks, Lord. You're a legend, mate.
Oh, he's a Kiwi. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. He's see, and the worst thing is he's actually, in my opinion, not as bad as Ken Ham. But I think I'm just biased because Ken Ham is Australian. Like I don't know if I'm actually qualified to know whether he's better or worse. You know?
I don't think they're qualified either in anything.
Oh, well, no, they're not. Well, no, actually, and this is the other thing. I don't know about Comfort, but Ken Ham is qualified. He is a proper educator with proper education behind him. He knows better. He knows better. That pisses me off. Like, I don't know about some of these other guys. Like, some of them don't have degrees and even if they do, they're not worth shit. You know, like they're Christian degrees. No, Ken Ham has proper degrees in education. He knows better. He's a cunt.
I wouldn't know. I don't look into the specifics. I try and avoid these people. That's why I avoid debate as well. It's like I do find that the whole argument about trying to put two people on a particular platform, the assumption being that they both have equal weight, I do find that annoying, even if one person doesn't have an argument and the other has every argument. You know, it's like putting a toddler and a teenager on the same stage. It's like there's no.
I come across it in a different way where I don't actually like debate because I don't like. Well, I mean, it's not that I don't like argument. I don't see argument as productive. So debate isn't very productive. It's entertaining. It's just not. It's not good for getting anywhere. This is why I enjoyed the chat I had with SJ the other night. I went into that making a point of telling them that this is not a debate. This is just a friendly discussion where I get to know you and you get to know me, and that's it. There's no, you know, why do you believe this, or but the evidence, or anything like that, you know, like. And it turned out to be a very informative discussion because we actually got to know. Well, she got to know because James didn't really know me too well either, who was hosting on Modern Day Debate. They got to know me a little bit, just honestly, because there was no, you know, pretentious of attitude of trying to beat somebody, you know. And it was vice versa. I got to know them without any, you know, attitude or, you know, trying to win over any argument. It was actually kind of good. And then as an audience, they sort of get to just see the honest self, their honest truth, especially with both of us really as, you know, I suppose public figures. They get to get a bit of an unfiltered view on just who we are. And that's, I think, what you're kind of going with too in that natural chat, you know, with your videos.
There's definitely something to be said about the, could you call it a Joe Roganification of conversation? I mean, you know who I'm talking about, right?
I know who you're talking about, but I don't watch him regularly. To me, he's just another radio chat guy. Like,
yeah, it's pretty good. He just had Mike Tyson on. I mean, he can draw anyone he likes. He's going to get Kanye West at some point.
Yeah, he's big. Yeah, he gets all sorts.
I mean, there's definitely
that's all.
There's definitely a distrust of what is established at the minute, and what is, whether that be in politics, whether that be, you know, the news sources we're getting from, distrust within the media because they've flaunted their power and they come up with all sorts of bullshit that, you know, is clearly trying to doctrine us into, whether it be hating immigrants or whatever it may be. And eventually we just have enough and we go to different news sources. Hence Breitbart came out from nowhere, and now you've got various different people on the internet. And the problem with that comes the lack of fact checking, because the big established corporations know that if they speak out of turn, they're going to get sued, and then that means that they lose money, or at least should. But you can't really sue us if we start to spread nonsense, you know.
Yes and no. I mean, there was a few things you were saying there, although I suppose that doesn't really answer much. Because I mean, even at the start, I was thinking Breitbart didn't really come out of nowhere. They've been brewing for like, what, 2 decades?
Have they? Oh, okay. I stand corrected if that's the case.
I mean, I'm
checking on the podcast.
Might be only a decade, but it's been a while. Because and even before then, that was just a brewing of what Fox News had brought with what's that wanker's name? Was it Ailes? Ailes, yeah, dude from Fox. He died like a year or so ago, or maybe a year before the election, or whatever.
Died a year ago, not sure. Were you thinking of Alex Jones?
No, the guy, the CEO, the guy that invented Fox News, and
I'll look that up.
Occasionally, Roger Ailes. Yeah. Roger Ailes. Pretty sure that's his name. Yeah, definitely double check me, because, like, you know, it's late. But
Roger
it was,
and Rupert Murdoch, obviously,
and Murdoch, of course. Yeah, that fucker.
How's it taken me 19 podcasts to get to Rupert Murdoch? How's that happen?
And he's Australian too. Yeah, exactly. Geez. Thanks for fucking reminding me. He's probably the one Aussie I would say is worse than Ken Ham, and it's really hard to say that. But fuck that guy. Like, seriously, fuck him. And his kids, at least his sons, they can go fuck themselves too.
We should probably elaborate on why, just in case people aren't sure who we're on about.
Well, I'm sure they all know who Roger Ailes is if they know anything about the news industry. And if you don't know nothing about the news industry, then it really doesn't fucking matter. You know anything about that, you know who Roger Ailes is. He's the guy that hired Roger Ailes. You know, like, he's the guy that gave all of you Fox News, who probably gave you Trump. So, fuck them. I think we can all come to a nice agreement there. I think it's AILES, Christy, but close enough. You're tired. It's okay. Don't worry. It's okay, sweetie. It's okay.
I'm just adding Christy as a moderator. Just trying to encourage her to
definitely a good idea. She's awesome, and everybody should definitely like go and sub to Christy, because and also go follow Christy on Twitter as well. Which one is it that you're almost at 1,000 at? Was it Twitter or YouTube? I can't remember, because I've probably you know why I have a bad memory, Christy. Help us out in the chat. Wait, Russ, who? Ted Turner. Who the fuck's Ted Turner? What the hell is Russ on about?
I'm gonna search for him. I'm gonna ask you a question about S.J. Thompson, or Thompson, or whatever her name is, and then you can talk, and I'll check who Ted Turner is.
I think it's Thomason. I didn't actually even ask. I probably should have, but yeah, she's sweet. Well, you know, to certain people's degree of what they would call sweet.
Ted Turner is
exactly,
the founder of the Cable News Network. Sorry, just to
say that again. I did miss that. Sorry, bro.
Ted Turner is the founder of the Cable News Network. He's worth $2.2 billion. Spouse, he was married to Jane Fonda. Heard of her? That was his third wife. Yeah, he's one of those people.
Yes. I remember. Yeah. No, well, I just as much of a sleazebag. Who cares? I mean, I don't know as much about him. That's all. So I don't completely feel comfortable giving him shit. You know, he's not Australian. I didn't look into him. What are you going to tell me? Or is he Australian? If he's Australian, oh my god, fucking goddamn it, that's just so bad.
I've got rid of it now. Yeah, I didn't check.
No, I know. Who's Skywise? Are they Australian or? Well, there's no Skywise. Anyway, you got a question for us on something I've not forgotten.
Yeah, I was going to talk about S.J. Thompson, because I'm starting to see her a lot more in various people's videos. I think you've done a video. She was with non-sector or something.
Oh, she's been with all sorts of people, but yeah, the one I did with her was just the other day with Modern Day Debate. Well, I might have actually, now that I think about it, I've probably been in a non-sex, like maybe after shows or videos where there's lots of people in the panel and she's one of them, but I've never really talked to her or anything directly. And that might not have actually, like, that's just a maybe, you know what I mean? Because I know I've been in a lot of the shows with the non-sex, and there are a lot of people there at a lot of different times, and I don't always remember who's actually in every video. So until I properly meet them, you know.
Yeah, I was just going to try and find out who she was and what she stood for. Is she like a small-time apologist, like not quite Ken Ham yet, or is she like?
I was going to question what you meant by small time, because I was going to say compared to you or me, she is a lot bigger. But compared to Ken Ham, yeah, she's definitely small time. Bless her. She's in her own way, of course. that's her thing. Yeah, you know, she's from her world, she does what she does good enough, you know, and it's well proficient to maintain the Christian confidence.
Okay, so she's decent enough to, you know, hold her own. She's not coming out doing too much bullshit.
Yeah.
People can't really gauge too much from that.
Look, there is a lot of things that I disagree with her on. There is an absolutely huge amount of things that I find what yes, I would call bullshit. But at the same time, I am very easily able to just jump back into my old self, and I know what she's saying, and I know sometimes things can sound really, really horrible, but like I know that that's not in any way even what she's thinking. Like, and if you propose that to her, that's just not at all what's going. Like, that's not the intention, you know. So I'm like, you've got if you can put yourself there, and you know, then she's a wonderful person. She is. She's just exceptionally misguided, and I cannot fault her on that, because so was I, very much so. And I mean, a lot of the stuff she spouts that people I know and love right now would have absolutely ripped me apart for, vitriolically. You know, I would have said the same sort of things, and I would have been ripped apart, and like, it's just the way it is. You know, not everyone figures it out at the same time, so you just work with it. And Neil, hey bro, good to see you. You've missed like 20 minutes of shout outs from both of us, mind you.
We were talking about you earlier, Neil.
Yet? Why I'm going to leave this conversation. I'm kidding, by the way.
He's blue. Stay. I was gonna mention, Neil. I was also going to flaunt my Twitter prowess. When you're part of a campaign to remain in the EU, you end up following back other people who also want to remain in the EU. Hence the hashtag FBPE, follow back pro EU, which means I've got about 2,500 at the minute. Sorry, Christy.
Very nice. No, but very, very well done. Maybe I will, because I've had a few people that are following me from the UK that think I'm one way or the other. And I don't know why or where they get that idea. But I'm like, all right, follow me until you realize that I'm not actually, like, the Australian flag in my name didn't give it away. But anyway, at the same, like, you're in the UK, so it's different. Like, they'll probably hang around, you know. So
yeah, I mean, your flag is a quarter of ours, so, you know.
No, exactly. It's virtually the same thing. Hey, do you reckon you can improvise? Sorry, do you reckon you can improvise for 2 minutes if I can just run away for a sec?
Probably. I can improvise probably.
That'll be the way to go.
Maybe 2, yeah.
Well, I won't leave you that long, don't worry. Give me a sec, won't be long.
This entire podcast I've been improvising. Come on.
Oh, yeah, thanks, mate. It's all on you, mate. Yeah, I'll go. Sure. Yeah, no, yeah. Catch you a sec.
Sweet. Yeah, we've made it to Brexit after about an hour. It's a tough situation for those who are interested, and in fact for those who aren't. We're at a difficult situation at the minute. The last podcast I did, as I mentioned, with Prophet of Zod, we just about missed out on the vote before technology went to shit. Theresa May's deal was voted down by the biggest margin of any government bill for about 100 years. The vote was something like 432 votes to 202 votes. I mean, hugely unpopular. Like 100 of our own party voted against it. As per a Grieve amendment, which came the week before, it means that Theresa May had 3 days to then respond with a plan B. Today is that day, and today she's going to come forward with her plan B, whatever that is. She's had conversations all weekend with everybody, apart from Jeremy Corbyn. And yeah, who knows? I think we're sprinting towards no deal, frankly, which is catastrophic. There was a Sky poll, actually, that was done by Sky News yesterday, that said that people think no deal means remaining. And just to clarify, it means that we not only leave the EU, but we leave everything. And I mean everything. Single market, customs union, 750 different treaties. We went into this in quite a lot of detail with Jack Dart, who was podcast 17. For those who want to go and bitch about Brexit for 2 hours. I think that's the only podcast where I genuinely didn't have to speak. Like the conversation just flowed out of Jack. He's part of something called the Bollocks to Brexit campaign. For anybody who's seen that and has seen bits of British news, you might have seen a big yellow bus, and that's going around, or was going around, telling people, you know, this isn't done yet, and this is such a palaver that we deserve another say, which is, I think, fair enough. It's unrealistic, given that there was a vote of confidence in Theresa May's government. She won. She has the confidence of the House of Commons. She has the confidence of her party because she was challenged before Christmas, and as such, she's Prime Minister for the next year. So we don't know what's going to happen, and we have until March 29th to actually determine what the fuck we're going to do. And there's not enough time left, and frankly, that's a no-deal scenario. So, yeah, I think I'm hearing something in my ear from NotJah.
Yeah, now I'm back.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, actually, like, you've been, with all the political hullabaloo that's going on over there, one thing that's common phrase around here is that, well, America, you ain't got it that bad. We've been, I mean, you know, they still at least go through one leader every 4 years at a minimum, right? We've been through like 5 leaders in 5 years, if that, you know, probably 4 years. Because every time we'll elect one in, they kick them out, and then a year later they'll kick them out, and then a year later they'll either have an election or they'll kick them out, you know, and then have an election. It's just ours still is such a ridiculous joke, and thankfully, because we're so secluded over here, it doesn't really affect that many other than us, so nobody actually gives a shit. But fuck me, like, it's funny listening to all of the hullabaloo you guys going about, even in England. Oh, leave or stay and all that sort of shit. It's like, from our point of view, like, well, at least from my point of view, I should say, because I tell you what, Australia's pretty fucked up at the moment. From my point of view, I think it's a bit silly. I mean, the economic thing, sure, but there are ways of fixing that, you know. But the people thing, the social thing that's going on, it's just stupid. You know, like,
yeah,
the divisiveness and stuff, you know.
We seem to have lost, I mean, I touched upon it earlier, we've lost the ability to just talk and just to listen to one another, you know, even if we disagree.
Too long.
Yeah.
And okay. Hear me out. This is something I've not proposed for a while, and there are definite arguments that counter mine. But for a long time, there was a prominent theme of you don't talk about religion or politics. And the one side will say, and it worked, and we had no problems. What I can't help but think is that maybe that fostered this this underbelly of content for the norm and the status quo, whether it be on one side of the scale or the other. But there was this mainstream ignorance of that feeling. And so everywhere it has sort of erupted. Maybe America sparked it, maybe it didn't. It doesn't matter. But it's sort of starting to happen everywhere. You know, it's that domino effect. And the unpredictable thing is knowing which way it's going to swing, because there's so many factors to try and, you know, put into that equation. And because it's an international domino effect, you don't really know which way it will swing. It's a fascinating time to be alive, but it's a fucking scary time to be alive.
It's a fascinating discussion to go into. I just want to fact check for the comments, and then we can come back to it.
Go hard. Fact checking is awesome, dude.
So Skywise, you're saying the UKIP are why she can hold on to power. Not quite. UKIP now no longer have any MPs. They only had one out of the 650 that are in Parliament. It's just to explain. I think it was the confidence vote in her government last Wednesday was 325. So exactly half of the Parliament said she was good. I think 306 said she was bad. So that's a swing of 19. And I think the DUP, Democratic Unionists in the Northern Ireland, have about 10 or 11 MPs from memory. So if they voted against the government, of which they are currently benefiting from £1 billion of extra investment as a bribe to try and prop up Theresa May's minority government, if they had voted against Theresa May, then we would be having a general election right now. But as such, they've been, as I said, essentially bribed into supporting the Prime Minister because they fear a socialist Jeremy Corbyn, or as they would put it, a communist, Nazi, anti-Semitic, you know, whatever labels. And that leads us back into what you were saying about being able to talk to one another properly, and that social aspect where we just, if somebody disagrees with us, then, you know, they're a Nazi, they're Satan, it's very religious. I find it very sort of, that justification of one's opinion being, you know, unjustified, illogical, irrational, you know.
I was so it's like what's his name? Jeremy Corbyn is getting similar treatment to as Bernie is, you know, Sanders. With
they're essentially the same sort of politics. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'd sort of seen that just with our media as bias, as everything is, but from their bias, their mainstream, you know, where the money is. But they're both, it's not really slandered, but it's framed as being socialists or extremists in some way, or, you know, and it's equated then because the right wing are normally those extreme Christians that are countering it. It is easy to pitch them within a fundamental association, which is frustrating because it's like throwing, you know, real life against a video game, because they counter each other perfectly. They're so similar, but they're so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, a lot could be said about comedy in the same way. It just puts up a mirror to society. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, well, with comedy, it's actually not quite the same analogy, where comedy does, as you say, puts a mirror up against just society and reality in general, where it is actually a more pure representation of what's going on. Where a video game, maybe a movie, for example, or other sorts of media or entertainment like that, where they will exaggerate for their own means, comedy will normally exaggerate for the means of exemplifying the ridiculousness of society. So it doesn't give itself any exemplification like an entertainer will. I mean, it depends what the comedian is, of course. I'm thinking people like Carlin and stuff like that. They will exemplify things within society that are outrageous, you know. So, I don't know, maybe probably a bad example, but in my mind, at least, you think of someone like Adam Sandler, who's more a dick and farts joke kind of guy. That's not to say it's not funny, because, you know, dick and fart jokes are great. However, that sort of joke will hit with a, you know, certain theme, whereas a Carlin joke about, you know, like the hit on that is the punchline of the fart or the exaggeration on the person doing something silly. You know, like it might be a facial expression, it might be whatever their gag is, you know. Slapstick is a common form of this, where it's about the person falling over or whatever, you know, like getting hurt and falling into a funny situation like that. But there is also the ones that the punch, the main gag is on society, is on the audience, because it's about the world they're living in. And yeah, so I know there was a point where I was leading into that, but that's where I went.
That's okay. I think this is also, thinking about it, another reason why I have such a free form podcast is because we can go in any direction, and then we end up going off on tangents, but then we find links between certain things that we didn't necessarily think there were links to. So I was then, because we were talking about comedians just before socialism, I then bring those together by saying, I think it was this weekend that Bill Maher has his real-time show come back. All of his stuff gets put on YouTube pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I saw that this week's one.
He for me does two things really, really well. He talks to conservatives and invites them regularly on his panel, even though he disagrees with them and shouts at them a bit. He still lets them talk, and he also explained socialism, because it's quite a taboo subject in America. Because if you're in favor of any form of subsidy, even if it's for military or whatever conservative issue, you're a socialist. Like, you are in favor of taking money from some people, giving it to others, because the system needs rebalancing in some sort of way.
He's got a you know, he's a libertarian, so he does have a streak which is very independent, but he's also a realist, which I feel is very important for maybe not anybody in his position, he's just a TV guy, but maybe for politicians. Because, as you say, like he has a propensity to bring people on from both sides. He will argue with both. I think, like, the way I'd put it is he's, in America, a moderate leftist, but for the rest of the world, he's just a moderate. He has his flaws, like, but really that's just a subjective thing of me saying he has his flaws, because that is from my perspective, from my point of view, you know, like what I think politics should be. But like, he has a great way of being a moderate, or a moderator even. And then he can add his humor to it. He isn't as funny as he used to be, because he's not as Like your tendency is to be more extreme the younger you are in your views. Like you are more passionate when you're younger, because you haven't been exposed to such a diversity of different things that they're not tempered by all these different thoughts and processes you have to like go through and go and think what is realistic. But he's got a very well-mannered way of tempering that and being funny still, which is hard to do. I like as I said, like I caught the one this week. I like to keep up with him as well. He's good.
Yeah, sub to Bill and sub to Neil as well. We'll keep saying it until he's got a million.
Yeah, I'm actually like, look, seriously, if you'll allow me, I'll take a moment as well to do a shout out here for Neil, 604 Atheist in the chat, looking all blue and sexy with orange, as he should be. Neil is honestly one of the coolest fucking dudes on YouTube, hands down. And every time I go and look at his channel, it's tough to say it, don't take it personally, Neil, but I'm disappointed. And it's not by anything you're doing. It's by everybody else. I'm like, why is this guy so low in subs? Seriously. What the fuck? Guys, if y'all are not sub to Neil, you got problems. Neil does probably, like, I can't say the best because I know a lot of people that do these sort of videos and I like to think they're all just as equal as they're all good. They do different types of videos, you know, for in interview videos, but Neil, just he has a way about him, man. You gotta, like, if you're new to YouTube, I don't care what you do on YouTube, check Neil out and ask to be interviewed, because he'll have a chat to you. It could have nothing to do with what like he does in general or regarding the atheist part of his name, I suppose, with all of us. It's a good time. Go and join it. Subscribe to his channel, join the chat if you'll allow, or I know we can't do that anymore. Shit, we ran out of space on his Twitter. Just ask him for a chat on his channel, basically. Because seriously, the other thing about Neil, actually, now that I think about it, I have to say this, Neil, I hope you don't mind. He is an actual real life legitimate hero. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know if that trans, like, he's actually a hero. I don't know if you know, I'm not talking superhero like Iron Man. He's even cooler because he's real. This dude, I think, do you now hold a record, or is it you're still working towards the record that your olds holds?
I think he smashed it. Yeah.
He smashed it? Yeah, I couldn't remember if it was one or the other. Man, smashed the record for oh man, I'm going to put it in my own words, for the blood bank bullshit in Canada's, or the Canadian lands. Dude, this guy's fucking cool. Like, you have no idea. You have no idea. This guy is a fucking legend. You can't get cooler than Neil. If you're not sub to him, I don't know you. That's about it.
For anybody who's not sure who we're on about, there's loads of links in the comments to NotJah's story. Also, to subscribe to his channel, #subtoNeil. He does a lot of deconversion stories, so he'll go through various different people and how they left their particular religion or cult, whatever it was.
Deconversion stories.
I did.
Night Sword.
I gave him the contact details to Jay Gunn as well. He's quite an interesting story. He was my second ever podcast, and he might be on at some point with Neil. He's a really nice guy. Both of them are. But
I'm almost annoyed. Neil, this guy here that I'm talking to has had all these cool names. Like, what is going on? We're gonna have to work. Like, I'm gonna be bringing, like, I want to see, I don't know. Give me like Dawkins on your channel, Neil. Come on. Bring your A game, brother.
Oh, well, no. He would have had a deconversion story, wouldn't he? Yeah, he was actually.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I was, yeah, no, I just thought a big name. Like, you've had R and all these other big, oh, like, oh, shit, who's bigger?
You know, Aaron Ra is definitely a very easy person to contact. I think I got an email back within an hour. Like,
yeah, no, I've actually heard that from everybody. Because, and as I said before, because I don't do the whole, like, I've realized I'm not the whole interview person, and so I have to work out, okay, if I get onto R&R, I got to have a video that is sufficient to propose to him to do. You know, like, it's got to be something to, like, a video, a collaboration video, not a, hey, who are you, and let's have a chat, you know, like a stream kind of thing like that. Or even if it's a stream, but it'd have to have some, oh God, I just couldn't imagine trying to think that I could put something together smart enough and intelligent enough that he would even be interested in, you know? And I've had thoughts like that with even, like, just creatively, like, you know, Kate, Bionic Dance. Fucking love that girl. And oh, really? Well, you should look up Bionic Dance right now. You should sub to her. You should go and watch a whole lot of videos from her, and everyone else in the chat should do the same, mind you. But I mean, you know, she's a true OG, like old school YouTuber. You know, she got a good decade on her fucking belt.
Very 80s.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's Bionic Dance. Like, just, you know, Jesus. But anyway, many a time we've had chats, been in hangout streams and shit like that and whatnot, but I've never done a thing like a proper video with her, you know. I want to. I got no idea what to do. You know, I'm like, how am I going to connect? How am I going to connect the Jehovah's Witnesses with her content? You know, and it's like, it's just, they don't seem, in my mind at least, I haven't worked out where they're compatible enough to go, oh, look, here's an idea for a video, you know? It's frustrating. And it's like that with a lot of people too, because it's either that or it's like, okay, well, I want to do a thing with Lloyd, but he's done everything, you know? I have to come up with something that is unique enough that makes me stand out a little bit when it goes up on his channel. You know what I mean? That's the way I have to look at it.
I think that's another reason.
God damn it, it's hard.
Why I'd want to do the channel the way I am, because it means that we can go into something new and provide something different that hasn't been already done. Like, we don't know. Like, if you want to know Aaron Ra's opinion on politics, then just go straight to podcast 6, because that's, I mean, I've said this before, but he's got really into it, like the whole.
No, dude, Aaron Ra is a talkative motherfucker. You can like, because I've been in a
specific.
I haven't chatted to him personally or anything, but man, seen enough times where I've been like watching him on non-sec and you know, not to mention like his own videos, he sort of spaces himself a bit. He, you know, works himself through it. But when he's live and working against somebody, some idiot, you know, like on the non-secs, you can, dude, he'll go and he will not be stopped. He will not be stopped, you know, like, and he shouldn't be stopped, mind you, either. You know, it's good. He's a fucking legend like that. It's just like, and I think some people are like that. You give them that spark of whatever it is, and they'll just fucking go.
I think that's it. I think it's the spark. Trying to find people's passions and let them just roll with it.
Yes.
You know.
Neil says Kate is awesome, and I agree.
I was, I think the longest somebody's gone uninterrupted was when I had Cosmic Skeptic, and I said something about free will, and he went for about 12 minutes, It was just like, it was really interesting. I didn't need to say anything. Cool. We could have been there for days, you know, as I'm sure we could be as well. I know you said that you wanted to probably cruise at some point.
Oh yeah, I didn't even see your reply. I'm sorry, dude.
That's quite all right.
Yeah, no, it's probably pretty soon, man.
Yeah, it's getting close to midnight for you, isn't it?
Yeah, no, work and all.
Sweet. We can wrap it up. Thank you, NotJah. Please get some sleep. Maybe like eat something. I don't know if you've you've been holding off.
Yeah, the podcast. I have been holding off.
Links
not
are in
for
the
podcast, just through the podcast.
That's fine. I was going to say, there's also loads of links in the comments and in the description for, whether it be Neil's channel, NotJah's channel, that channel, which is the one you're on, and that one, which is new, which doesn't have any content on it. I'm going to redo the clips. I've got about a day's worth of podcast to sift through to get some clips up, which I did before, but I don't think they were very, very good. And so I'm going to pick better clips. So cool. I'm going to let you go.
All right. So before we go, though, can I give one quick shout out?
Yeah, I don't know why it's changed. Oh, there you go. It wasn't changing to your picture. Go on.
Oh, that always takes a sec. League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism.
Oh, of course.
It is a YouTube channel. It is a Twitter, and it is a Facebook at Atheism Humanism. I would love to see everybody go and follow them, sub to them, etc. Usually every fortnight on Friday, I think it's 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if I can remember correctly. We do a podcast, and it's political based, US usually, but it can sometimes be worldwide politics. It's hosted by Christy Santiago and Grace Skeptic Mac. They are fantastic. The topics are very diverse, and they're a lot of fun. And they're very informative. I really hope that everybody goes and checks them out, gives them a, as I said, follow and subscribe. And when is it on? Yeah, so on the weekend, make sure to come and check us out. This month, so I think this week is our last, sorry, not this week, then the following week after this is our last week of a premiere, which was the pre-recorded original Leah videos that were put up on Mac's channel, and so we're just premiering them on this channel now to show everybody that is new, and so that they're all in one place, of course. Make sure that you check us out this weekend for our second official live show on our new channel, which is on Hannity's Insanity. So that is Sean Hannity, of course. It's going to be a lot of fun. And then the week after that, sure. To be honest, I can't remember what that one's about. I'll have to hit you back about that. But make sure you catch us. It's a lot of fun. It's some serious politicking, and we do it right. We actually try and work out how we can seriously and realistically work out some of the world's biggest problems.
Let me know when you mention Brexit. I'll come running.
It'll come up for sure. Absolutely.
The link for League of Extraordinary Atheists is now in the comments as well.
I did see that. Thank you very kindly.
I did forget to mention it. There's all sorts of things that pop into my head. I've got a libertarian Zoltan Istvan, who was a presidential candidate that I was going to bring up earlier, that I've had on the podcast as well. Really interesting guy.
Tell me, keep a hold of all these ideas. I would actually love to come back to all of them, because I know you've brought up a few things, and I'm like, I want to talk about that too. That'd be great. We can do it again another time.
Come back tomorrow. We'll do one every day.
Actually, well, I don't know about every day, but tomorrow would be good. A bit earlier though. Can you do earlier in the day tomorrow, or is it too early for you?
I probably could. I don't know.
Well, think about, because if a couple hours earlier, and it'll be perfect because well, basically I'll just have more time than I do tonight.
Maybe. I'll get back to you and think about it. I'm going to say initially no, because I know I've got 6 podcasts this week, or 5 left.
Oh, no. Well, look, there's the same time another week, whatever, that, you know, easy to organize, that sort of shit. But we've got to do it again, that's all.
Yes, absolutely. Brilliant. Right. Sub, and sub. There we go. Change your camera. NotJah, it's been very interesting. We'll have to get you back, talk about transhumanism and AI and mechanization and gun control and lots of other lovely things.
And you know, I'm more than happy.
I'll see you in the lobby.